Prescott made the comment after the game that if Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat, he should be too. That's very easy to say when your contract virtually guarantees you're going to be back. They've got a $59.4 million cap number they have to deal with. He's going to get a market-level extension. They need it desperately in order to chop down that cap number. So Dak Prescott, as Cowboys fans shift their focus from, well, we didn't get rid of Mike McCarthy, let's try to get rid of the quarterback. That's not going to happen to the extent that you think there's even a possibility, Cowboys fans. Here's McCarthy from yesterday talking about his end-of-season exit interview with his quarterback, Dak Prescott.
I have unbelievable belief in Dak. I think he clearly has another step. I think this offense has suited him well. I think the things that we were able to improve on, it's a system built around making the quarterback successful. So the growth opportunity that we both see for the future is, was something that we are excited about. But the big part of the conversation was the disappointment, and we talked about the particulars of the game and, some of the things that went wrong and how we can improve it. I believe in Dak Prescott. I think he's clearly the answer. He's part of the solution moving forward. And I think, as difficult as this time is right now, when we can, work through this emotional, period that we're in, we'll continue to build off of, what he brings to the table.
As you mentioned, Peter, postseason success just not there. 2-5, Dak Prescott in the postseason, and Mike McCarthy 1-3 with the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, but 1-3 in playoff games with the Cowboys as they continue to try to get back to the NFC Championship. I did the math earlier this week, and this is amazing to me. In the first 30 Super Bowls, the Cowboys played in the game that determines who gets to the Super Bowl 16 times. 16 out of 30. More than 1 out of every other year on average. Since then, 28 years since, not a single time. Not once. I would have wagered, if someone had come to me in 1995 and offered a wager of everything I own, if the Cowboys don't play in a single NFC Championship game between now and the year 2023, I would have taken that bet. I would have doubled down. I would have tripled down. And, Peter, to your point, there's going to be people who get caught up in the hype. Jerry Jones, the ultimate carnival barker. Everybody's going to get whipped up about the Cowboys, and they add this guy and they add that guy, and it happens again. And I'm not. Part of me likes it because I think it's more interesting to talk about the Cowboys flaming out in the postseason than it is to talk about the Cowboys thriving, although it's been so damn long since the Cowboys have thrived in the postseason. I don't remember what it feels like to talk about it. Hell, it was 5-6 years before I even got into the business. It's how long it's been. But, yeah, where is the concrete evidence going to be? And Chris went through this yesterday. All the areas, all the flaws in the Cowboys roster. Like, why in the hell does anybody think this is a Super Bowl-ready team?
And I think going forward, Mike, as we look at the pennant race next year, you also have to ask yourself this question. What will be the composition of this Dallas team? Who will they lose? Who will they not be able to sign because mega players who are on the verge of huge new contracts, like Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, who is that going to cost them? When you have 3 players who are going to earn at the top of the business at incredibly expensive positions, you think CeeDee Lamb is going to say in negotiations, hey, by the way, I know that Tyreek Hill is making, however, he's making in the range of $30 million, depending on how you look at the contract. That's okay. I'll only take 22. And do you think that Dak Prescott is going to say, oh, by the way, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and those guys, I don't have to make what those guys make. I'm going to pull a Tom Brady. I'll make $40 million. You just make sure you keep everybody else. I mean, hey, look, they might. We'll see. But there's only been one Tom Brady in that regard over time, and that's Tom Brady. And so to me, I don't know how the Cowboys run it back without fixing the problems that I'm sure that Chris Sims said. It's almost like they think that Tyron Smith and Zach Martin and these guys can play forever. And okay, our line's okay. But the Dallas Cowboys roster is like one of those leaking dams in Holland. You know, you put one finger in the dike to plug it in, and then 4 other little leaks come in somewhere else. And I don't know how they're going to do it, Mike. I think it's a huge, huge problem in this offseason and next, how they manage their stars and how they build a great team around them.
The good news, if there is any, is that you can engineer a contract so that the early year cap hit isn't that significant. The Lamar Jackson contract, for example, has a cap charge of only $22 million in 2023. However, those dollars hit the cap eventually, and sometimes they hit with a very loud thud. And even if you can kick the can this year, next year, the year after that, you're eventually going to have a massive cap number from CeeDee Lamb, a massive cap number from Micah Parsons, and you're still obviously going to have every single year a huge cap number from Dak Prescott. With that tax that you now pay on the salary cap that we've noticed, Peter, guys like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, the first year after the quarterback's gone, it's this massive dead money charge that teams just accept. $35 million this year for the Buccaneers in Tom Brady's name. Baker Mayfield's making $4 million cash this year. They got Tom Brady on the books for $35 million. On a team that's made it to the final 8 with that one hand tied behind their back under the cap. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of work for the Cowboys to pay their stars, build out the roster. Excellent point. They act like some of their good to great players are going to be around indefinitely, and they're just not. You're going to have to replace them. And when your defensive tackle taken in the first round this year, Mozzie Smith, played 4 snaps the whole year, that's not the way you reload your roster with the low-cost draft picks you have available to you. One more point from McCarthy yesterday. We mentioned this earlier. They love him. Great flowery statement issued by Jerry Jones on Wednesday night, but no new contract. He's entering the final year. Lame duck for Mike McCarthy. Even more pressure on him in 2024. Here he is talking about this reality that he's entering the last year of his deal with the Cowboys.
I've never talked about a player's contract. Coach's contract. I mean, I'm not going to start today, but I will say I am very confident in the direction, and I like where we are, as far as moving forward. So I'm very confident where I am. I believe that the direction, the leadership, everything is in place, and I'm not very comfortable talking about myself, but I came here to win a championship. I didn't come here to get another contract or anything other than that. I came to Dallas to win the world championship, and that's why I'm standing here and buy into us.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much all he can do to make chicken salad out of a bad situation. There was a time, Peter, where no team would ever let a coach enter the final year of his contract because the thinking was you can't really have authority in the room. You can't command the roster the way you need to when they know there's a good chance you're not going to be here next year. So why are we listening to this guy, especially when you get late in the season? Why are we listening to him? He's out. We're going to be here. We're under contract, but we don't care about this guy anymore. So who knows whether and to what extent that's a factor next year for the Cowboys. But it just shows that there's something more going on than we love Mike McCarthy. Because if they loved Mike McCarthy, they wouldn't let him get in a position where his contract's going to expire. And, think of it this way, because we have the conversation about Mike Tomlin all the time. And, boy, there's a lot of Steelers fans saying, why are you applying the same standard to Mike Tomlin that you apply to Mike McCarthy? Why do you think Tomlin should be back and McCarthy should be gone? If both guys were available right now, both Mikes, McCarthy and Tomlin gets a job today. McCarthy, who's going to hire McCarthy to be their head coach? If he was available right now, Peter, he'd get interviews because it feels like everybody's getting interviews right now. But do you think he'd get one of these available jobs if he had been fired this week by the Cowboys?
He might get Carolina or Tennessee. but I'm not sure he would be a strong candidate anywhere else. Now, I don't have any idea what Carolina and Tennessee, they might have leaders in the clubhouse right now. But to me, I think teams with options are going to look at other guys. Like, for instance, you think about Ben Johnson, and he is the hot guy. And right now, he's the guy who people are chasing. Young, hot coordinators are who people want right now.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.